Why a sneeze could change your life. In ancient Greece, imagine this. You're walking through the bustling agora of ancient Athens, the sun casting long shadows between marble columns, when suddenly, achoo, a simple sneeze escapes you. But in ancient Greece, this wasn't just a minor bodily function. It was a message from the gods themselves, capable of altering the course of your entire life. Welcome to a world where every sneeze carried divine significance, where the timing, direction, and even the sound of your sneeze could determine whether you'd find love, lose a fortune, or face your doom. This is the fascinating story of how ancient Greeks transformed one of humanity's most basic reflexes into a complex system of prophecy and divine communication. To understand why sneezing held such power in ancient Greece, we must first step into their worldview. The Greeks believed that the gods were actively involved in every aspect of human life. Zeus controlled the thunderbolts, Poseidon commanded the seas, and Athena guided wisdom, but they also communicated through the most mundane moments of daily existence. A sneeze wasn't random. It was a deliberate message from Mount Olympus. The practice, known as tarmic divination, was taken so seriously that it was mentioned by some of history's greatest minds. Aristotle himself wrote about the significance of sneezing, noting that it was considered one of the most reliable forms of divine communication. The word tarmic comes from the Greek word patero, meaning to sneeze, and it represented an entire branch of ancient Greek fortune-telling. But not all sneezes were created equal. The ancient Greeks developed an intricate system for interpreting these nasal oracles. The timing was crucial. A sneeze at dawn suggested new beginnings and fresh opportunities, while a sneeze at sunset warned of endings or the need to conclude unfinished business. A midday sneeze was considered the most powerful, as it occurred when the sun god Helios was at his peak strength, lending extra divine authority to the message. The direction you were facing when you sneezed was equally important. Sneezing while facing east, toward the rising sun, was considered highly auspicious. It meant the gods approved of your current path and good fortune was heading your way. Facing west while sneezing was more ominous, suggesting obstacles ahead, or the need to reconsider your decisions. North indicated that you should seek wisdom and counsel, while south suggested that passion and emotion would play a significant role in your immediate future. Even the number of sneezes mattered enormously. A single sneeze was like receiving a gentle nudge from the gods, a simple yes or no to whatever question was on your mind. 2 sneezes were more complex, suggesting that the situation required careful consideration, and that the gods were presenting you with multiple options. 3 sneezes? That was the jackpot. Ancient Greeks believed that 3 consecutive sneezes were the strongest possible divine endorsement, a clear sign that the gods not only approved of your plans, but were actively supporting them. The sound and intensity of the sneeze added another layer of interpretation. A loud, forceful sneeze indicated that the gods were speaking with great urgency and emphasis. A quiet, gentle sneeze suggested subtle guidance that required careful attention to understand. Some Greek oracles even claimed they could distinguish between different types of divine messages based on the pitch and resonance of a person's sneeze. These beliefs weren't confined to superstitious peasants, they permeated all levels of Greek society. Historical records tell us that important military decisions were sometimes postponed if a general sneezed at an inauspicious moment. Marriage proposals were delayed, business deals were reconsidered, and travel plans were altered based on the timing and nature of a sneeze. One of the most famous examples comes from Xenophon's Anabasis, where he describes how a soldier's well-timed sneeze was interpreted as divine approval for a crucial military strategy. The sneeze occurred just as the commanding officer was explaining his battle plan, and the troops took it as a sign that the gods favored their approach. This interpretation boosted morale and may have contributed to their eventual victory. The Greeks also developed elaborate rituals around sneezing. When someone sneezed, those nearby would often exclaim, "Zeus save you," or "Long may you live." These weren't just polite gestures. They were protective incantations designed to ensure that the divine message was received properly and that any negative implications were warded off. Temples dedicated to healing gods like Asclepius kept detailed records of patient sneezes, using them to diagnose illnesses and predict recovery times. The priests believed that the gods would use sneezes to communicate the patient's prognosis directly. A sneeze during a healing ritual was often interpreted as a sign that the treatment would be successful. The influence of Greek sneeze divination spread throughout the ancient world. Roman writers like Pliny the Elder documented similar practices, noting how the tradition had been adapted and modified by different cultures. The Romans were particularly interested in sneezes that occurred during important political events, seeing them as indicators of divine approval or disapproval of governmental decisions. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of ancient Greek sneeze interpretation was its democratic nature. Unlike other forms of divination that required expensive consultations with professional oracles, sneezing was available to everyone. Rich or poor, slave or free citizen, anyone could receive direct divine communication through their own nasal passages. This made tarmic divination one of the most accessible forms of spiritual guidance in the ancient world. The Greeks even developed a sophisticated etiquette around public sneezing. Sneezing during important speeches or ceremonies was carefully noted and interpreted by those present. A speaker who sneezed while making a point was believed to have divine confirmation of their words, while a sneeze from the audience might indicate divine commentary on what was being said. As we look back at these ancient beliefs, it's easy to dismiss them as primitive superstition, but they reveal something profound about human nature, our eternal desire to find meaning and guidance in the world around us. The ancient Greeks took one of our most involuntary actions and transformed it into a bridge between the mortal and divine realms. Today, we understand sneezing as a biological reflex designed to expel irritants from our nasal passages. But there's something charming about imagining a world where every unexpected achoo carried the potential for divine revelation. In ancient Greece, you never knew when a simple sneeze might change your life forever, and perhaps, in some mysterious way, they still do. The next time you sneeze, remember the ancient Greeks and their remarkable belief that the gods were trying to tell you something important. Who knows? Maybe they were right all along.